Hello and welcome to Course Like Your Car Brochure channel, and today's episode for Fiat Friday we'll be looking at the Fiat Tempra. Welcome back, and if you're new to Course Like, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube looking at cars from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s. So if you're interested in car brochures and vehicles in general, please consider subscribing. Anyway, back to today's episode. We're going to do another Fiat Friday, looking at a Fiat each Friday, although Ford Friday I'm sure will come back soon. Today we're looking at the Fiat Tempra, and this particular brochure is from December 1990, so let's have a look at that now. So here it is, today's car, the Fiat Tempra. The bottom here it says Fiat designed for life. Quite an artsy sort of front cover. Like I said, this brochure is a UK brochure from December 90, so a very early brochure actually for the Tempra, as it ran from 90 to 96. And I think this platform was also used for the Lancia Dedra and the Alfa Romeo 155. First introduced in March 1990 at the Geneva Motor Show. Interesting little points about this. Fiat this time started going with galvanised structure to really overcome that sort of Fiat reputation for rusting away, I guess. Anyway, let's open the brochure and have a look inside. Okay, as we open the first page, we got this little bit of a flap going on. A little bit of an introduction here, Tempra down the side, little Fiat badge at the top there. I'm not going to read it all, but let's just look at the first paragraph just to introduce the car. So it starts by telling, as befits the latest addition to one of the most up-to-date car ranges in Europe, the Tempra takes a new and refreshing individual approach to saloon car design. And then we've got this little sort of front image of the Tempra. There it is. But anyway, there are better pictures, so let's turn that flap over and have a look at the car in a bit more detail. So here we go, this is the main image. It is kind of like a bit of a forgettable design really, although I quite like it. I particularly like how the boot line at the back there. But yeah, a bit of a forgettable design, and overall in the UK, larger Fiats weren't really that successful overall. This was still carrying over that reputation for rust, although I think by this stage that was really solved, and electrical gremlins. I did read somewhere that these early ones still had little issues with sort of like water ingress behind them rubber strips and little things like that, but overall a far longer lasting car than old. So this one does look like a top of the range model. They did have an option for sort of like pop out headlamp wash, but it's not shown here. Higher spec models did get these sort of like driving or maybe fog lamps and this colour coordinated lower half to the bumper. And also they got these standard alloy wheels on the top model. You can just make out the SX badge there as well. Interior wise, actually quite an interesting interior. I'm quite happy with an interior as long as it's not like grey or black. And here we go with these sort of nice shade of blue seats, nice armrests front and rear, and this very interesting dashboard, this sort of stepped dashboard, which makes for quite an interesting and stylish interior overall. So the next page we've got this side-on view, and it's actually a very worded page, this one, so I'm not going to read all this page, but what it's telling you is it's got class-leading aerodynamics, space and durability, so drag coefficients of 0.28, which is very good, and Fiat's actually was very roomy cars inside, and it also tells goes on to how durable it is. But anyway, let's turn the page and see what else this brochure has to offer. We get this image of this lower spec version with these rather unusual wheel trims. Have a look at that boot. I think by this time though, people were preferring sort of hatchbacks, and I'm sure the Tipo sold a lot better than this. But we do have a split fold seat for a saloon, which is certainly very nice. And then a glance into this interior, bit of a low spec one. We've got, wind down windows, etc. We should also point out on this lower spec version, it doesn't have that sort of like shelf type design of the interior. It's just one binnacle with these normal analog gauges. In a moment we'll look at the higher spec one and we can see how that's much different than this interior. It does start introducing the engine choices on this page though, so it's saying starting with a 1.4 or 1372cc 78 bhp engine and a 5-speed gearbox, top speed 107, 0 to 62 in 13.4, which is a little bit on the slower side I think. Fully independent suspension, internal adjustable door mirrors, digital 4-speaker radio cassette, height adjustable front seat belts, adjustable steering column, tinted glass, map reading light and optional 60/40 split rear fold seats. And the 1.6, which has got this as the 1.4 plus, 1581cc engine now, 86 bhp, top speed 110, 0 to 62 in 12.3 seconds, power assisted steering, tilt, slide, glass sunroof, and an optional of a CVT automatic. And then a 1.6S, which adds things like central locking, electric front windows with one touch facility on driver's side and key out operation with the either front door open, rev counter, digital clock, and then finally a 1.9 diesel. So that's a 1929cc 65 bhp diesel engine, 5-speed gearbox, top speed 101 and 0 to 62 in quite a sedate 18.9 seconds. We've also got some low profile tyres and wheels there by the looks of it. Then the next page is showing a much higher spec model, the SX. Tells us a little bit about the features, which we'll have a look in a moment, and there's some nice images including that higher spec dash, so let's have a look at that now. So this main picture is actually the 1.8 i.e. SX. So being an SX, higher specs, we've got things like these driving lamps, colour coordinated bumper and alloy wheels are the real things that really stand out there, I think. We also have this retractable headlamp power wash are available as an option on the 1.8 i.e. SX and 1.9 TDS combined with a rear wash wipe. So rear wash wipe on a saloon, it's quite unusual as well, isn't it? And then we got this higher spec 2-tier style dash, and instead of all the analog displays we get this sort of electronic displays. I've no doubt, as with most of these electronic displays, this is probably the more troublesome one of the pair, but it's a much more interesting dashboard, isn't it? So we can get this as a 1.6 as well, 1.6 SX, and above the 1.6S it has 2-level digital fascia incorporating speedometer, clock, econometer, boost gauge on TDS, fuel gauge, rev counter, water temperature gauge and warning lights. We also get electronic check panel monitoring door closure, light operations, engine oil, coolant and windscreen washer fluid levels, and an electronically operated tilt slide glass sunroof, twin adjustable heated door mirrors and a 60/40 split folding rear seat. So I think, the SX was quite nicely spec'd. We also get front and rear head restraints, rear sunblinds, 14-inch wheels with 65 series low profile tyres, height and lumbar adjustable driver's seat, front and rear armrests and high power 4-speaker digital stereo radio cassette. We can also get the same thing as a 1.8, so in addition we get a 1756cc engine, 110 bhp now, giving us a top speed of 118, 0 to 62 in 10.9 seconds, alloy wheels, low profile tyres, heated driver's seat, optional ABS, optional headlamp power washers and rear wash wipe, and optional convenience pack incorporating infrared remote control for central locking, electric rear windows and an electrically controlled automatic heating system. And then finally, you can also get the 1.9 TDS, so a 1929cc 92 bhp engine, top speed 111, 0-62 in a much better 12.1 seconds than the other diesel, turbo boost gauge, heated driver's seat, optional ABS, optional convenience pack, optional alloy wheels, optional headlamp power washers and rear wash wipe. Next page is just one double page of this higher spec model in motion, so recognised by the lower painted or colour coordinated bumpers and the sunroof, of course, and those alloy wheels. And then the back page, what we usually say the specification page, although in Fiat brochures they call it the fact finder, showing the 6 different versions available. And a little bit different in it because the engine sizes can change the specs in some ways, which is a bit unusual. We'll start off with this very lowly 1.4 and go down to this top of the range diesel. So there is that lowly 1.4 or 1372cc, and like we said before, top speed 107, 13.4 0-62, but nice fuel economy, constant 56, you're getting 50 miles per gallon. You get a 4-speaker digital stereo radio cassette. You get a tilt slide sunroof and blind, actually, which is optional on that 1.4, which is a nice option for such a lowly model. And power assisted steering is an option on the 1.4 as well. And this list is very much going through all the models of these lower spec ones, so the 1.4, the 1.6, the 1.6S and the 1.9D. And he'll tell you if otherwise stated. We also get a luggage compartment illumination, height adjustable steering column and tinted glass, as well as an adjustable map reading light, internally adjustable door mirrors and spacious glove box lockable on the SX, height adjustable front seat belts, that rev counter for the 1.6S. Analog clock is for these lower models, the 1.4, 1.6 and 1.9. And there is an optional CVT transmission for the 1.6, the 1.6S and 1.6SX. Just going back to the specs for these lower technical specs for these lower vehicles, the 1.6 and 1.6S. 110 or 104 for the auto, 0-62 12.3 or 14.4 for the auto, so they weren't particularly speedy cars, were they? And there's also a little bit of a look at the fuel economy figures. And then that lower non-turbo diesel, 101 max speed, like I said, very slow, 0-62 and 18.9, but you are getting over 62 miles per gallon if you're doing a constant 56, which is quite impressive for the size of car. Then we move up to the 3 higher spec models, so the 1.6 SX 1581cc engine, also available as a manual or as an auto, and you can see the performance and the fuel economy figures there. Now let's move to the little images, and this is sort of the higher spec models now, so standard equipment on the SXs and that TDS. So we get that 2-tier instrument panel, including electric check panel, 60/40 split folding rear seats with a centre armrest, central door locking with boot opt-out facility, which is also standard on the lower 1.6S, electric front windows, that's also standard on a 1.6S apparently. An electrically operated tilt slide glass sunroof with blind. And a driver's seat adjustable for height and lumbar support, contains a folding armrest. We also get twin electrically adjustable and heated door mirrors, height adjustable rear head restraint and sun blinds, and front fog lamps integrated with body coloured lower bumper. I think I called them driving lamps before, but they are actually fog lamps. And then we get these light alloy wheels with wide low profile tyres, standard on the 1.8 IESX, optional on the 1.6 SX and 1.9 TDS. So the only one that got that standard on was that 1.8 IE. Convenience pack, option of automatic heated system, remote central locking and rear electric windows, 1.8 IE SX, 1.9 TDS, and those unusual telescopic headlamp washers and the rear wash wipe are an option on the 1.8 IE SX and 1.9 TDS. And the specs for the 1.8 IE SX, which was probably the model to get if you didn't want a diesel, reasonable performance and reasonable fuel economy as well. The TDS was probably the most sensible model, I guess, though. Reasonable performance and still very good fuel economy. And then on the back page we got this little image, suitable to run on unleaded petrol, a bit of a sign of the times and how things have changed. Fiat badge. Down the bottom there we got the date stamp of December 90. And a little bit of information about the address there in the UK. So there we go, the 1990 Fiat Tempra. An interesting but also a little bit of a forgettable car, I guess. If you do remember these cars, or indeed owned or rode in one, please jot in the comments. Always love to hear real world experiences. I think they're my favourite comments, actually. Thank you so much for watching. I have recorded at least one more. I've just recorded the next Friday's Fiat Friday, so there will be at least one more Fiat Friday before we go back to the Ford Fridays again, and who knows, we might mix it up a little bit in the future. But either way, thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe if you've not done already. Have a great weekend. Look out for tomorrow's Saturday special, where we'll look at a special edition car. But for now, we'll say take care, have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.